This scar right here is from 1995. That was the emergency surgery that they did. This scar is also from 1995. This was my second open heart surgery. This scar here is where they opened my chest. I could always hear my chest pop like your ankles would pop. The first time that I noticed I had health issues, I was in a meeting and I started getting this flush feeling like I had drank too much coffee.
I still talk to other black men who still don't trust the healthcare system.
And I remember seeing on one of his notepads, "Am I going to die?"
This is the first time that I've talked about the different things my dad has gone through.
You over there crying, that's not gonna help him. So you need to get it together.
We don't have a healthcare system in America. We have a disease detection and management system.
We know that stress actually has a direct impact on heart health. Stress can also come from racism and discrimination.
I saw myself spiraling downhill with my health. I decided to do something about it, and I don't know what made me buy a bicycle, but I bought a bicycle. We spent more money on this medication than I'm spending on bikes.
We talk about a one-way trip from St. Louis to Chicago.
I was cursing at Eric during the ride and I said, "Man, how did you come up with this?"
Watch your dog, watch your dog, dog.
My son is always thinking about things that seem impossible.
You shouldn't want to ever cuss your father out, but I want to cuss him out right now.
Eric asked me early on, do I think I'm going to make this trip? Right now, it's not 100%.
I think he's a living witness that you can turn things around at any time.
My doctor, he said, "Donnie, the disability asked me, when are you going to die? Because you're living beyond their expectations." And they were asking my doctor, why was I still alive?
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Hurt with the NRW, where nerds rule the world. And I'm so excited. My very first Black History Month of 2025 interview. I'm so excited. And this one's really, really cool. This is about a PBS documentary that's coming called Bike Vessel. It's about the 350-mile, 4-day journey of a father and his son that was a little bit unhinged at times, I gotta say.
Absolutely.
I am speaking with Donnie Seals Jr., who is, of course, the man of the hour, and his son, Eric Seals, who was the director. And I like how they put it, you are a participant in the documentary. The documentary arrives on the 24th, which is just about a weekend, about 2 weeks from now. How are you guys feeling with it coming up?
I'll let you go, sir. How you feeling?
It's surreal. I'm excited. I think several years ago when we started this whole journey, I never imagined it to be at this level and receive the attention that it's receiving, the film festivals, the people that I've met and that the film has touched. It's very amazing. I'm very happy.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I feel blessed. I mean, this is an idea that naturally started. It wasn't a documentary at first. At first, I was just doing some home videos, and then I started telling people about the story. And like, "Ooh, I want to hear more. I didn't know your dad went through all that." And it turned into what it is today. And so there was a lot of late nights editing. And this wasn't my main job. I mean, I am a filmmaker and I run a production company, but this is something that I was doing on the side. I didn't utilize my full team. I was doing this kind of solo because I wanted to tell this story. And if you would have told me this is where it was going to be on February 24th of 2025, I'd be like, you need to pinch me because that's not happening. So I'm very honored this is beyond a dream. To be able to screen on PBS and Independent Lens.
Absolutely. And speaking of story, people that this film has touched, this is actually very personal. This really resonated with me. My best friend died from cardiac arrest when he was 41. And then a year later, I was actually diagnosed with a heart condition that required me to have minor heart surgery. And one thing that I learned, and this was something that I really took to heart, is you got to just live your life. You got to enjoy it. Age is just a number. And one thing I really wanted to learn was I never learned how to ride a bike. And I actually just learned last year.
Okay, great.
So this film really, really touched me. I'm sorry. I know that this this is about y'all, but I
No,
just
no, that's why we create this. That's how we connect. That's how we learn more about each other. And I think it's important for all of us who have gone through different experiences to be able to share it. And we shared it through a story, so now we're sharing it through this interview. I think it's great for us to be able to learn how different people have gone through the experience, so that Heather, your experience is a little bit better. So I'm thank you for sharing that. That means a lot to me.
absolutely. And thank y'all for the story. Sorry, getting a little
You're
teary there.
good. Good.
So let's talk about the documentary itself. Donnie, what happened, even just from a home movie perspective? What did you first think of when your son came to you and said, "I want to document everything that we're doing for this journey"?
Whether my initial response was, I don't know if you have a story. I mean, I lived this thing for so many years, and I was understanding that he's a filmmaker. I understand all that it takes to go into it. And I said, man, this is a huge commitment. But I tell you what, if you believe there's a story, I'm in, and I'll do whatever I can to make it the best that it can be.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he
And
asked me if you think we can change. If we can change one person's life, I'm in. I'm like, oh, that's happening. After we have had the opportunity to have our film in different film festivals, we have to pull him out. There's so many people who have connected with him, who are starting their journey, or who have already started their journey, and this helped confirm it. And that's the warm fuzzies that you can't pay for. That's why we created this, because we wanted to get that message out about how you can live your life, and we did it through his history.
absolutely. And to go off of that response with you, Eric, why? Uh, can you tell me why you wanted to share this in such? I know you kind of touched on it, that you want to connect with people, but
Yeah.
why in such a public way? When you could do it through community acts, through all that. Why so publicly?
I feel like everybody has a gift, and I feel like when I was brought onto this earth, filmmaking, technology, telling stories was one of the gifts that I was given. And we look at how we want to change our community. And so that's why I thought about it from the public aspect. Creating this documentary is a way to reach out to my community and really focus on Black men in particular, who have the lowest statistic in every category that you look at when it comes to good health. This is how I can reach them. Some people will be able to speak at an event. Some people will be able to, draw pictures, and I tell stories through cameras. And so it was a dedication to my community, and I didn't realize that until I joined a local production house here in Chicago called Cartimquin, who is responsible for like stories like Hoop Dreams and Minding the Gap. And they had a fellowship, and during their fellowship, it was, why do you want to make this film? And until you can answer that question, you don't need to continue in this process. And so I thought about my dad, I thought about myself, and now my 2-year-old son. I want to make an impact on our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, Donnie, you actually brought this up a little bit in the documentary. You were talking about your sister's passing, and how you were trying to work with, talk to your family about history. What was it like to you to talk about not only your family, but your own personal past and how it has brought you here today?
Yeah, that's amazing, because I'm a very private person, and to have a camera on me for approximately 4 or 5 years, imagine having a microphone hooked up. I think back to, so I'm very private, but I think back to the conversations I had with my extended family, particularly my sister, as you mentioned, has passed while we were making the film. And I would, your network being the nerd, I was a nerd. They looked at me real strange. How can you give up pork? How can you give up beef? They would make comments like, you can't eat this, can you? And I'm like, yes, I can. I choose not to eat that. And trying to get the mindset that we can't continue going down this road. And the conversation I had with my sister before she passed was me coming very blunt, very candid. And we literally didn't speak for a while after that. And then shortly after that, she passed related of heart complications and diabetes. And and all of the above. She just had a slew of ailments, and she passed. So that was a tough time. But I'm looked at as the weird person because of my lifestyle, exercising like I exercise, and my eating habits. And I'm not perfect. I have a long way to go. I haven't given up cheese. I don't eat as much cheese. But the beef, the pork, the processed meats, highly processed foods, I very seldom eat.
I think one of the biggest challenges that I talked about slightly in the film, but we definitely realize is some of the when you're making any type of transition in your life, some of the toughest critics are the ones that are around you and that love you. They still love you, but hey, I'm vegan, or I'm vegetarian, or I'm pescatarian, or I don't want to eat this, or I don't want to eat that, and or I don't want to drink anymore. Sometimes you get made fun of by your own folks, and we always smile and be like, yeah, it's no big deal, but that can get to you, over a period of time. And I definitely saw that with different family members when so what you mean y'all don't eat red meat? How you gonna eat a burger? I was like, well, it doesn't happen.
Don't eat burgers.
Don't eat burgers.
I think it was your sister, Eric, and your daughter, Donnie. I think she was the one that said that she doesn't eat. Was it pork shoulder? And then your aunt was like,
yeah.
That gave you some serious.
Yeah, my mother was upset with her that she wouldn't eat her. I think it was pig feet or something like that.
But the whole point is, in a lot of cultures, not just ours, but many cultures, food is a way of welcoming each other, and it's a gift. I'm going to cook this food. You're going to consume it. You're going to love it. We all have that person's house that we go to, and you say you're not hungry, and they take offense to it. What do you mean you're not hungry? You're here. And so, I don't fault that, my grandmother's generation, because they lived in a different means of education and knowledge of what food does to us. But it's interesting when you have the different generations interact. And when my sister's like, yeah, I don't eat that anymore. She's like, what do you mean? Why don't you eat that anymore? It's interesting.
The way she put it, it really reminded me of that moment in Big Fat Greek Wedding where it's like, oh, you don't eat meat? Help me, clam. And I was just like, oh, no. But let's talk about that cultural moment there. One of the great things about this documentary is, and even though y'all don't really push down on it, it's important to talk about how your stories do reflect upon your past and your culture and your heritage. And why did you want to make sure that you had that conversation, even though brief, about people of color, about Black people, and about your past?
I appreciate that. With the whole entire documentary, I didn't want to talk down to anybody, and I didn't want to make anybody feel bad about what they're doing via eating, and if they're at that point where they want to change their life or change their eating habits. When it came to the component of my ancestors, I think it's important to find out there's a reason that we eat a certain way, not just Black people, but all people. There's a certain reason that different cultures eat a certain type of food at a certain time of the year, or if they're fasting and then they eat something after that, and it's all connected. And so when you look at the history of Black people and how we got here, there's a reason that we eat certain ways. And so I want to touch upon it because it has matriculated through the different generations. And one of the things that we talked about was my love for breakfast. My dad loves breakfast. My grandfather loves breakfast. I'm like, oh, maybe these are just some individuals that really love breakfast because it's just one of the best meals of the day. How could you complain about it? But it also is connected with a lot of sharecroppers and slaves had to eat a really big breakfast before they went out because they're not going to get another good meal until maybe 2, 3, or 4 o'clock later that day. So you want to be nice and full because you're not going to be able to eat in between that moment. And so it's little things like that that lead us to different reasons why we have gotten to where we are today with our eating habits.
Absolutely. And you could see it more. I love just the small bits of history that were riddled through. Now I have to finish on a really fun question. Donnie, you were giving Eric a little bit of jest when it came to pickles. What is it about pickles in this documentary?
Well, we were on a training ride and Eric was eating what I would consider a lot of junk. And I was trying to explain to him, if you had a pickle, it will give you so much more boost than that. I think he was eating some Cheetos or something. And I was like, this is the salt. It's the, at a lot of our rides, they have pickle juice that you can drink. So it's really good for you because you're losing all the salt and liquids and so forth. And it's kind of synonymous to taking a salt tablet.
Yeah, it's like a super Gatorade. It's replenishing a lot of the salt that the nutrients that you lost in your body. And so what happened was he saw me eating the Cheetos because he wasn't at the rest stop yet. He's like, "Why are you eating that junk?" I'm like, "I just had like 4 pickles. I can't have any more pickles." And so then he came up with the idea. It's like, "Hey, people in my group have been doing pickle juice," and I'm like, "Oh, definitely bring that. That's going to be the best thing ever because it does give you a boost." And I didn't realize my first time doing it was on the ride. It felt like a shot of whatever your favorite drink is that hits you in the chest a little bit. And so the first day it was doing its job, but then like once we hit day 2, 3, and 4, started making my stomach hurt, so we stopped drinking. But it did the job. I think we're just consuming too many.
Yeah, we drank too much of it.
Got it. I'm a big pickle fan, and I'm gonna throw that at my husband a lot now, though. Thank y'all, guys. Thank y'all so much. Bike Bustle was an absolute blast to watch. It premieres on February 24th at 10 p.m. on PBS and will be available to stream right after on the PBS app. Thank you, guys, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Yeah, Heather, thanks a lot. Appreciate
you.
Yeah.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Yeah. Nerds rule the world.
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world. Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world, so more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Awesome. Kuya P, nerds rule the world. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Oh, nerds rule the world.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like nerds rule the world. Like I want more Black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you so much. Nerds do rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Nerds rule.
Love it. It's your boy Kuya P. Nerds rule the world. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
Do. They rule the world, all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys.